Well, hello and welcome to the living room of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for October 31st, the day of attentiveness. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of attentiveness. We have us what looks to be a rabbit, and he's just being very attentive and fluffing the harvest for a rooster who's on the opposing side there. I don't know. Is that an adequate representation for the day of attentiveness? Who's to say? I don't know. Fluffing the harvest doesn't necessarily speak to me about it, but hey, maybe we can make some kind of connotation as we get on with the reading. But that being said, it's not altogether all too important. No, what is important is it's October 31st, and that means it's someone's birthday today. That's right. What's important is wishing you a happy birthday. That's why I'm here. I want to wish you a happy birthday. But if this finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever it may be, you're a busy person, I reckon. Hey, I just hope you had a happy birthday if that's the case. But for everyone else who's joining us randomly, or more ideally to celebrate the October 31st birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before we dive in with the redirect, something I like to do here around these parts is roll some dice. That's right, it is the DykASSt, a birthday broadcast, so we like to live up to the namesake. But I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. That's right, we rolled a 3 and a 1 for a 4, but it also comes out to a 31 if you look at it a certain way. How about that? For synchronicity. Now, for those of you who don't know what synchronicity is, it's just you getting out in the world and letting the universe show you it's with you on your path. And you do so by looking for these numbers. Now, you don't have to necessarily go with these numbers. I just rolled them here for you. The intention's there, but you can roll your own if you like. But and that said, it's also probably preferable you take your own set of dice, even if you go with that number. So you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time values with which to follow those directions. But say you get to the end of that direction that you led yourself on from whatever starting point that you took off from. Stop, compose yourself, and look for your signs. Look for your numbers. Or if the numbers aren't popping up, you're not seeing anything like that, look for anomalies. Got to go with some instinct on a lot of this. And sometimes you might even see something and it passes you by real quick. And you're like, man, I can't follow that. It went by too quick. Hey, you know what? Universe, as I've been told, has a way of lining things up for us again, even if we miss them, even if we're blind to it. So hey, maybe a car races by, it's got a 31 on the hood or in the license plate or something. You know what? Roll the dice, find out how long to follow that car, or at least the direction that it went in. And you know what? You might just find that at the end of that time limit, you stop, compose yourself, look around, and maybe you find yourself in front of a building with a 13 in the address. Say that's one of your numbers, or there's a 4 in it maybe. Well, maybe go up into that building, see what you see. Maybe you can't get into it, maybe it's locked, but hey, maybe at the same time, somebody pops up going up the stairs, then say, how can I help you? And you're like, oh, I'm just here for synchronicity, see what I can see. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And maybe you show them this video and they go, wow, that's unique. And that's why you're here. And you're like, yeah, I don't know what else is going on. And they're like, hey, you know what? Let's go grab a coffee. You know what? Let's go grab something to drink, something to eat. And hey, you just made yourself a friend. Maybe that's what all of this was about. Somebody to meet up with that you wouldn't have met up with otherwise. The universe just putting things in your path. And maybe as you're going with this individual out to these things, you keep following your numbers and stuff. Because hey, it's a little bit of a game, isn't it? Yeah, it is, all right? It might be, I'm just hoping you find some fun in it. See, taste, touch, and feel the magic if you can. But even if you don't, hey, at least you're getting your steps in, right? That's right. Now, that being said, stay warm out there. It's probably cold this time of month. In any event, hey, let's get on with the birthday read. I think you get the idea. Your month is October, your day the 31st, and your sign is 7 to 9 degrees Scorpio of the Scorpio I period specifically. And your quality and element is fixed water. All right, October 31st, the day of attentiveness. October 31 people pride themselves on being meticulous observers and executors of detail. Their ability to concentrate all of their energy allows them to cut through obstructions thrown up in their way. This laser-like intensity also makes them formidable adversaries. However, October 31 people are not in general overly aggressive. They can in fact display a sweet and even gentle exterior, which belies their harder side. In personal relationships, they are caring and protective. But underneath, October 31 people of both sexes have a kind of warrior mentality working for them, and it can on occasion land them in plenty of trouble. And sometimes after the fact, it will seem as if trouble was just what they were after, but not from their point of view. As far as they are concerned, they only attack when provoked. And actually, those born on this day may have a problem with assertiveness. For short of this kind of all-out reaction, they can behave in an overly accommodating manner. In other words, they are often too nice and come to regret it later when they have been let down or unappreciated. And this can lead to real depression, which, after all, is only anger-driven inside. Combat, whether physical or mental, is a recurrent theme for those born on this day. The warrior mentality is one that enjoys the challenge of great odds, is capable of exercising restraint, suffering privations, including lack of food, drink, and sleep, it says in parentheticals, and bearing pain. And those born in this day often take pride in their eschewing of comforts and luxuries, and their ability to handle any surprising or dangerous situations that arise instantly. Mental training is thus key to the development of an October 31 personality. October 31 people do not give ground easily. They have a keen critical mind, adept at fettering out falsehoods and insecurities. And they love detective work and often take an active interest in both criminality and daring exploits. Calculated risks may attract them, but they are by no means reckless daredevils. They are nonetheless accident-prone and can be rather unlucky at certain crucial points in their lives, which they initially take very hard. However, in the face of such adversity, they are determined in their efforts to turn their luck around and often succeed in doing so. And those born on this day must not let small things irritate them or push their buttons. The key to October 31 power is concentration. If this is broken, those born on this day may become confused and therefore vulnerable in extreme situations. And October 31 people will always strive to give their all when they believe in an ideal or a person. They must, however, learn to deal with rejection and emotional disappointments. Since quality rather than quantity is central to their work ethic, they may at times give an impression of passivity, accompanied by a lack of drive and ambition. And this is primarily due to their sense of restraint and disinterest in attracting undue attention. All right, how about that for a dynamic, idiosyncratic breakdown of a birthday? I say it's pretty interesting here. So hey, let's dive into some notes. I'd like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we've read. Maybe, I don't know, examine some things from a different point of view and summate a little bit of it, right? So let's get into it here. October 31st, the day of attentiveness. People born on this day pride themselves on being meticulous observers and executors of detail. An ability, the reading says, is affected with all your energy to a lasered intensity on your foes as well as obstacles. And despite being formidable adversaries in this regard, you're said to mask this harder side with a kinder exterior. So don't cross you, it sounds like, all right? Even though you might seem like a pretty easygoing individual, lest somebody wants the horns for a bull analogy there. And considering a purported warrior mentality, which the reading drills down on to some extent, it's with a kind of lasered focus to examine. Point being, I think choose your battles wisely, okay? Even in protecting folks. It might come to pass that the people you protected, much to your detriment, they show they weren't deserving of that protection in the first place, all right? To which, how would one even know that, right? I'd say it's largely a gamble, but just recognize how they might deal with others. That's a good telltale indicator. If often without kindness or humility, or in a way that you think people should be treated, well, they might be a kind of turncoat mentality if it serves them, right? Regardless of your loyalty, all right? In any event, combat is apparently a through line, and I appreciate that they examine this struggle from a variety of different angles, okay? As I wouldn't have keyed to that at the foremost moment as I read it, despite my own experience with sacrifice. But mental training is required, to be sure, all right? And in a lot of regards, just because you're proven capable of rising to such occasions doesn't mean it gets any easier. At least that's what I would argue, all right? So, I mean, consider even those small things you mentioned. Little things can push even a warrior's buttons, right? But that said, you don't give ground easily, all right? And you have a keen and critical mind at fettering out falsehoods and insecurities. So lean into that if you're trying to assess whether somebody's worth your loyalty, I would say. And I'd fully expect that that might mean those in other people as well as yourself. That's right. Don't be afraid to look in the mirror and be objective, okay? Let's see what else we got here. Which also speaks to some kind of occasional pitfalls that they mentioned here in the reading. To say a lack of drive or emotional disappointments and depression, etc. And it said even a laser's batteries or diodes, they deplete and burn out sometimes, respectively. So lean in with the weight of that mental training that they mentioned and keep the drive at least inching along, I would say. Even if the car's broken down, you know what I'm saying? For a little bit of a mixed metaphor, you gotta keep going, all right? I think you get it. So that being said, that's been the birthday breakdown for October 31st. So let's dive in with your numbers and your planets. All right, let's get into it here. Those born on the 31st of the month are ruled by the number 4 as 3 plus 1 equals 4, and by the planet Uranus. And since only 7 months have a 31st day, it is a less common number for a birthday. And, the people born on this day are often difficult to fathom as well. And those ruled by the number 4 can be stubborn or argumentative, and often see things differently from everyone else. The planet Uranus makes those ruled by the number 4 quick and explosive in their change of mood. And this quality is accentuated for October 31st people by their double influence of the planets Pluto and Mars, the ruler and co-ruler respectively of Scorpio, which can make them suddenly and darkly combative, it says. All right. That's been your numbers and planets. This one was highly personalized, let me tell you. And sometimes they don't do that. And sometimes they do it, but just in little increments there. You got a pretty personalized day. And I thought it explained a lot of the different contexts, too, really well. They don't do that a lot of times either. In any event, let's get in with the breakdown, shall we? 4 in the planet Uranus, for a fellow 4 Uranus rulership. See, I knew I felt a kind of kinship here, and I often do, but I don't even realize it till I get to the section. All right, what else we got here? So that said, the reading claims you're hard to fathom thanks to your day, the 31st, which is interesting. You also drew a stubborn and argumentative skill set there from the Uranus rulership, and there's like 6 different ones, and those are the two that you got ascribed there apparently. And this is one of the rarer sets too, to that end. That said, you share the idiosyncratic, see things differently trait, but you're also said to be explosive in a change of mood. Explosive and erratic is the one that I got, so maybe you got 3 of the 6. All right. They say that's influenced by Pluto and Mars, so maybe it's more of that thing than Uranus so much. For a dark bend, something I didn't consider, and if you find as much to be true, well, perhaps you haven't either. Is to say, sometimes it just takes hearing it like the 37th time, like, man, you're an explosive change of mood individual, before we really consider that, hey, that might be the truth, or maybe we don't hear it until that 37th time. But if that's the case, just don't neglect that discipline and that mental training, for that warrior mentality, all right? At least if it's something you want to address. You can overcome and combat it. That's right. Just mind those little things, right? They might throw you off track with all the work that you've done, right? All the hard work that gets thrown off by, stubbing a toe or something like that. Who's to say? In any event, that's been your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of New Age metaphysical ideologies, if you like. But hey, it's here in the book. It's your birthday. It's fun. Well, let's see what it has to say. We don't have to take it home with us and start dealing the cards out for our every whim and flight of fancy. But hey, let's just get into it, shall we? Your tarot, the fourth card of the major arcana, is the Emperor, who rules over worldly things through wisdom, the primary source of his power. The Emperor is stable and wise, and the force of his authority cannot be questioned. The positive associations of this card are strong willpower and a steadfast energy. And negative indications include stubbornness, tyranny, even brutality. Well, I think this one spoke to you pretty well based on what we heard about in the breakdown, assuming all of that applies. So what I have to say here. The Emperor for rulership over worldly things through wisdom, all right? A stable, wise, unquestioned force of authority, strong willpower, and steadfast energy. It sounds like everything they said in the breakdown, like I said. Apt card and qualities, I would argue, considering what's been conveyed. Said all that. Just mind the volatility and the ease, I'm assuming, with which you can lean in to the negatives, all right? And that might have a lot to do with the Scorpio influence there, all right? So just mind that. Somebody's fighting you all the time, apparently. So not to belabor and drill down again, but maybe it takes 38 times, not 37. Yeah, so keep that mental training at the forefront there. That's what I would say. Largely, this was a copy-paste job, no personalization there, but hey, you know what? They highly personalize your numbers and planets, and a lot of times that's the trade-off there. So in any event, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, your health. Let's get to it. October 31 people must take special care of their health if they wish to remain alert and able to function as described earlier. Getting plenty of sleep and eating well are key to their staying in good shape. And those born in this day should learn to cook for themselves if they don't already know how, it says in parentheticals. And regulate a diet built around vegetables and grains with a limited meat intake. Interesting. The October 31 nature demands vigorous exercise, and if those born in this day don't get it, well, they run the risk of building up harmful stress. Competitive sports and gymnastics may satisfy their needs, but some October 31 people may wish to go even further and take part in combative activities such as boxing, jiu-jitsu, karate, kung fu, or kendo. Tai Chi is recommended for developing grace, patience, and control. Sexually, October 31 people need lots of activity, it says, but because of their selectivity, may limit themselves to only a few partners. Very interesting, very interesting. All right, what do I have to say about your health here? Let's see, you must take special care of your health. A seeming through line with a lot of the Scorpios as of late here. Or so far, I wrote. It's still the early days here. It's also with the sleep and the cooking for yourself to that end, all right, for some reason, who's to say. But vigorous exercise also seems to pop up pretty often here, which isn't always the case. Similarly to combat stress and aggression, perhaps. That Pluto influence again, that Mars co-rulership for that god of war energy there. What else we got here? Perhaps, and this is one of the only times, if not the only time, that they've mentioned combative sports, all right? And then the Tai Chi for grace. Very interesting there. And that's a first for sure. And lots of activity for the sexual realm. Interesting here. But they also mention, for the first time, on account of your selectivity, very few partners. Very interesting. So, hey, I would take note of all of that because, like I said, it's a lot of firsts. So maybe take note. Maybe be mindful there. In the event, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice. Some advice. Let's get to it here. Push yourself a little more. All right? Achievements are important, it says in italics. You have to drop your guard to let someone in. Doubt less, trust more, and try to be less critical and argumentative. Cultivate diplomacy. Self-assurance is key. All right, hey, very pointed arguments there in the advice. Sometimes it's just a really long run-on sentence or two run-on sentences. They're not even really that long. I don't know why I said that, but any event, hey, let's get to it. Your advice. Push yourself. Achievements are important. What I have to say here. Perhaps a concern with a validation / payoff dynamic. I can see how that's beneficial. Maybe you aren't able to see enough of that. And like I said, it's very beneficial to one's welfare to see the payoff. So that's what I'd say there. Dropping your guard and letting someone in. It's said you care for and protect those that you care about. So a fulfillment dynamic in that regard, I'd imagine too. Again, though, you want to ferret that out, or what was the word? It wasn't ferret, but you know what I'm saying there. Unless you chance a double cross. I think we talked about that there. Diplomacy is another through line for Scorpios there. Good practice to avoid trouble, especially if you're combative, right? Self-assurance. Let's see. I didn't see this isn't necessarily as an issue for you, but maybe because many qualities lead from a place where there's a given, all right? So self-assurance. Oh yeah, so like if you feel like that's a given, that you've got that self-assurance, but hey, maybe that's such a strength that you also avoid the fact that, hey, maybe there's a deficiency there somewhere. You use that as a defense mechanism almost. So maybe there isn't as much self-assurance there as you think. I know that seems really counterintuitive, but I don't know, it seems to make sense in my mind. Something to think about, something to reflect on. If it's lacking, I could see the pitfalls creeping up on you too. That's it. So take heed of that. Be mindful. Mental training again. Keep lasering, I wrote. That's right. And even I kind of lost the narrative there a little bit. The ferreting threw me off, and I can't remember what that word even was. Not altogether important. I'll put it down in the description there. That said, that's your advice. So let's take the energy down and pick the energy back up there from my stymie with your meditation. All right, let's get into it. Your meditation. The greatest battles are fought within one's self. All right, I like that for this one. The greatest battles are fought within one's self. All right, that's your meditation. It's your birthday. I'm not going to try to throw my interpretation on it, my little spin. That would just influence you in a way that doesn't need to be done. This is for you. It's your birthday. That's your meditation. All right. Now, with your meditation in the can, as it were, let's move on to your strengths and weaknesses. That's right. Let's do the work. Let's see what we got here. All right. Your strengths. Your strengths. You're caring, you're observant, and you're indomitable. Interesting. I would have thought indomitable would have been a weakness. As I say, I'll have to look it up there and see. I didn't read it beforehand. Your weaknesses. You're self-effacing, easily irritated, and resentful. Ooh, those are some interesting ones. Let's say, I think in a lot of regards, two of those are original. Self-effacing and easily irritated. Those are originals. I think they've put in resentful before. But in any event, all of that being said, those are all things you can work on. That's right. Mental training. Keep lasering. That's right. Hey, you can do it. I know you can. Because I can do it too. That's right. Okay, and those have been your strengths and weaknesses. And with that being said, let's move on to those born on this day. That's right. Let's see who shares your company. And with that being said, I also like to examine a little something here I find important, and that is figuring out our passions. That's right. A lot of times we get out in the world and meet folks and ask them what they do, and more important, if they like it, and they don't. And why is that? I think it's just the fact they haven't had the time to put in the work to figure out what they enjoy. And even if they know what they enjoy, they don't know how to make it financially viable, so much so that they can quit the job they hate, they don't like. And you know what? Hey, totally understandable. Like I said, we get out of school, we get right into a job that we need to keep the roof over our head and the food on the table, and it's usually not something that we like to do because we had to get it right into it, right? And then maybe we just kept advancing up that career ladder because it was easy and there was more money in it. But you know what? It's not at the heart of things, right? It's not where we want to be. So I figured, hey, this is the perfect opportunity to examine that dynamic by looking at those who, I don't know, put their stamp on the cultural zeitgeist, if you like. At the very least, got in the book in a notable mention. And, maybe it wasn't their passion that got them there, but that being said, maybe us just mentioning it, thinking about it, it's going to stir the fires up. That's right. So let's get on with it. Let's find out who was born on this day. All right, we start off with Jan Vermeer, the Dutch 17th century painter credited with just over 40 works, including The Milkmaid and The Love Letter. I think The Pearl was one too. John Keats, the British romantic, lyric poet, physician, and died of tuberculosis at the age 25. All right, so there's a good reminder of that too. Keep pushing. You never know when you might get taken away. That's right. We have Chiang Kai-shek, Chinese generalissimo, president of the Republic of China, and the Kuomintang party. Escaped with an army to Taiwan, defended the island against mainland China. We also have Dan Rather, the TV journalist and CBS anchor, Ethel Waters, the spiritual singer, radio, TV, and film actress, Michael Landon, the TV actor of Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven fame, also Little Joe of Bonanza, was also a producer, director, and a writer. We also have John Candy, there's one, film, TV actor, and comedian. Jane Pauley, a TV host and journalist of Good Morning America. Frank Shorter, U.S. Olympic marathon gold medalist, first American to win the event since 1908, and a sports commentator as well. We have Lord Nathaniel Meyer Rothschild, a British biophysicist, business research executive, and a counter-espionage expert. How about that? That's a whole mixed bag right there. We have Gavril Popov, first elected mayor of Moscow. Marion Chance founded dance therapy as a profession. Oh, how about that? A little bit of dance, too, in there with the Tai Chi for grace. We also have Helmut Newton, photographer. Illinois Jacquet, a jazz tenor saxophonist, probably saying that wrong if it's a French name. Jacquet, perhaps. Robin Moore, the writer of The Green Berets and the co-writer of The French Connection. Condor paperback publisher also. We also have Sally Kirkland, film actress. Dale Evans, a cowgirl film actress. Singer and married Roy Rogers, it says. And then Dale threw me. I thought that was a male's name. In any event, that's cool. She's isolated individual. Brooker Irvin, a jazz tenor saxophonist. A lot of saxophonists in the book, I say. Richard B. Bernstein, femtochemistry pioneer. Never heard of it. Maybe that's your passion. Femtochemistry. Wrote the atom-molecule collision theory. And we also have Tom Paxton, a folk singer. And with that being said, that's been those born on this day. And that essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is fall, your sign once again is Scorpio, with the Scorpio I period specifically, and your quality and element is fixed water. And this has been October 31st, the day of Attentiveness, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up your own copy and diving in further, figuring out your, your zodiac signs, your elements and qualities, what those are all about. And hey, just looking into the other people you care about. That's right. It makes a great coffee table book for parties you might throw and, getting the conversation started as you figure out all those other people. And that said, I just put the link down there to help not only support the channel, but, now you don't have to type it in a browser if you're interested in picking up a copy. That said, that's not what's important here. What's important, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, I just want to say happy birthday. And for everyone else who joined us randomly, I hope you enjoyed yourselves, learned something, found it interesting, and you join us for your birthday read. All right, but lest we forget your daily numbers. That's right. Hey, we've rolled a 3 and a 1 for 31. I threw a 13 up there, but hey, that doesn't happen all that often, so I love it when it does. Synchronicity. Get out there, see, taste, touch, and feel the magic, all right? I'm telling you, if you do, you're going to understand why I threw this out there for you. All right, so I hope you do. I hope you enjoy yourself while you're doing it. And at the very least, you're getting your steps in. That's right. Once again, happy birthday, all right? Take care of yourselves. Stay laser. That's right. Stay laser.